This show has been sponsored by Sichuan Used Cars.
Right, so hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with Roger Bell, who is the Vice President?
Yes.
Right, the Vice President of the Trinidad and Tobago Powerboat Association. First of all, I just want to congratulate you because everyone I've spoken to, you've probably seen some of the videos, everyone I've spoken to has highly commended what you've done. A really, really great achievement. And my question is, how do we top that?
Well, first of all, it wasn't me alone. Michael Clerk, Paul Gabriel, Ricardo Garcia was all part and parcel. I'm kind of like, for some reason, I end up in front of the camera and the media to be interviewed. But it was a Herculean task, this year being the 50th. And four of us, in the end there, we got some great support from Marcus Gomez and Brent Branca, and I want to shout those guys out. And the many volunteers that came out on the day to help with the race. But this year was different, very tiresome. We didn't just have to put on a regular great race like what we've done for the 49 years. We've put on an international race. There was a lot of work gone into Lucas Oil getting here, and that started probably back in February, March with paperwork and just the necessary documents and all the advice that we can give on customs and Ministry of National Security, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Sport, lots of stuff going into that. And it's still not a well-oiled machine, but they came here and they had a great experience, and it really helped our brand tremendously. And then we had the UIM sanctioning, which is quite a process in itself, applying for sanctioning, applying to be put on the international calendar, which we were comparing notes in terms of all the rules and regulations for them, and plus us as a national authority. So we kind of went back and forth with some things we stood strong on, some things we sort of married into our event, like the timing of the race, because a lot of people still ask, why two times? You know, we're seeing different times for in particular the 130s. So we had a great race course of 104 miles, which included two circuits, one in the Gulf and one in Tobago. But what UIM recognizes is a point A to point B. So that started when they exited the circuit on Saturday, gone, at Capital Signal, and when they hit the second marker in Tobago. So that was 80.5 miles, hence the reason for the two separate times. So lots of dotting of your I's, lots of crossing of your T's, and then also putting the race on.
Do you think that with all the work you've put into this one and all the success from this race, do you think to market the next great race would actually make it easier now?
There's still some things to be done.
I mean, there's so much hype.
Yes. We're definitely on the world stage. A lot of people are talking about us. We're on a lot of the sites now. And the UIM has tremendously helped with that, with their brand. And I have to say, Nigel Hook, Janet Wilson, and their team, they have done so much to expose us. They're just a great professional team. Loved everything about the race, and they want to come back and they're going to help promote us. The disappointment to me is that we weren't able to do a movie. Where we started getting traction, when I reflect, is when Marcus Gomez started doing movies, I think in 2010, 2011, he did up to 2015. So that started, getting a lot of airplay on YouTube. And that came to a stop. The country's, in a bit of a struggle financially, and assets are not readily available. But I will say, if we had a movie this year, it would tremendously help with the brand of the Trinidad and Tobago International Great Race now. Everybody looks forward to it. We get a million questions on our site. Are you doing a movie? Are you doing a movie? And it will definitely help showcase not only the country, right, and the sport, but the caliber of boats we have here from the 60 mile per hour class all the way up to the 130.
I did see a copter there, though. Well, what was that copter doing?
Well, we got, that was a knock helicopter that we got, I think, the Friday before we learned, and they were primarily for surveillance, right? And I want to make it clear, the primary reason for the helicopters are for safety. That's so that Paul Gabriel is the director of safety, and he puts Coast Guard divers that are trained in helocasting, which is extracting people out of canopies once submerged, and they train on the knock helicopters. So that's the primary reason for the helicopters. I want to get that straight. Once we get those helicopters, then we request for photography and video and so on. But it's been a bit of a struggle the last few years.
Right. If the government could do anything to improve their help, their assistance, what would you like to see them do?
Well, it's a fantastic opportunity for sport tourism. The rumors are flying already. We haven't stopped working. We are in the post-mortem of the Great Race, and we are in touch with the UIM and with Nigel and his team, and the goal is to have a World Championship offshore race, which is the Great Race here in 2020, with many boats coming to the country. So think of all those teams that will come here and fill hotels and eat in restaurants and fly across to Tobago and stay in hotels there. I mean, the Lucas Oil team, some of them were here for, I believe, as much as 2 weeks.
So a world champ, you're basically talking like the Formula One of for powerboat racing over here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, you know, when us Trinis talk about it, you know, Trinis will then say, well, that's Trinis talking and talking big. But when Jean-Marie Van Lanker came here from the UIM, and I use Nigel as a reference because he's raced all over the world, he's seasoned, they think it's a brilliant race. And I like to use the term that they use, interesting waters, because it's changing all the time. So yes, that's what our team and the UIM and the Silverhook team have spoken about, possibly a world championship in 2020 here.
So if that's the case, then hopefully we'll get a few, because, well, it's just basically the only other year before that is next year. Hopefully we want to get a few more international boats over here. And I want to see if you've got any exclusives for KVTV. What can you tell us? Who have you been talking to? Who have you been trying to coax over for the next Great Race? Well,
a lot has been talked, but we have had conversation with Zabu out of Europe. They were very interested in coming. It was a bit last minute, but they have expressed interest in getting down here. Husky Chocolate, which is a brand new, beautiful 54, I believe, MTI. They were on their way here, and we actually advised them not to come because of the possible length of time through customs and so on. So, but Linus expressed to me, he said, you know, he wants to come and you know, just be a part of this.
Because, you know, we cover motorsports as well, and I've heard that's one of the difficulties in motorsports is when the Trinidadians go abroad to race in Guyana or wherever in the Caribbean, it's fairly easy for them to get their cars into other countries. But when it comes for the other competitors to come over here, it seems to be very difficult for whatever reason. Is that the same case with the boats?
Yes, and it's, you know, we've thought long and hard about this, and it's probably just a lack of knowledge of the sport from maybe at the government level. And, you know, we got some good advice from one of our dear friends at the ODPM that, you know, the thing to do would be to put together a committee, a Great Race committee, with somebody from customs, somebody from national security, trade, sport, so that, you know, they're aware ahead of time. Well, you have 6 boats coming or 4 boats coming, and this is the process. And these boats are coming in here to race and to leave. So there's opportunities there for planning.
Right. As we're on this, as we were talking about other parts of the Caribbean, are you in contact with any other powerboat associations throughout the Caribbean? And are there any other powerboat associations?
Yes, absolutely. Kim McCallan of the Bermuda Powerboat Association, I saw her in Key West, and we touched bases. She was hoping to come and witness it, but again, I think logistics at the end of the day played a role in that. We have had some dialogue with going back to Grenada and whatnot, but it requires a lot of planning. Just planning the race here that's in our backyard is tremendous. So far less taking 20 boats across the Grenada, and the same for if we have the big boys from Europe or the Far East or North America come here. And hence the reason I said 2020 and not 2019. It will require a significant amount of planning.
I remember, like, when I first covered the Great Race, it was called the Carib Great Race, and I think that was 2012 was the first time KVTV covered it. Your sponsors this year, and like, did you have an official like title sponsor like Carib?
No, Carib left us before the 48th running a couple of years ago, and I mean, it was a great ride with Carib, and it was unfortunate what unfolded. But we took the decision that, we were running for 48 years and our brand was just getting stronger and stronger. We were promoting our national championships. We were getting the best turnouts. We decided that, going forward, we won't do a title sponsor. And I mean, the Great Race is a race for the country. It's the Trinidad and Tobago Great Race, now known as the International Great Race. So it has to remain that. It's part of our country. So we at the association believe that, there's not going to be a title sponsor anymore. But there are going to be sponsors affiliated with the Great Race to help out. And I mean, there were the comments when, Carib and the TTPBA parted ways that, oh, that was it, how are they going to manage and so on. But look at it today. Look at what's happened this year. It's international. It's bigger. We've gone from an average of 22 to 24 boats competing over the last 10 years to we had actually 46 entries, but 38 started.
Okay. Well, it now being like an international race, do you think that opens the door for an international sponsor?
Sure. I mean, that's a clear possibility. Because people are going to come down here and follow their teams, and who knows what you can do with the technology, with streaming and coverage of the race. Anything's possible with that.
So let's talk about the actual race itself. What surprised you in that race? I mean, like, who did you think could have done better? Who surprised you and you thought, wow, they done really well?
Well, let's just start just before the race started. So we have a new course this year. We opened up a really big circuit that had 7.1 mile laps in the Gulf. And it was years ago, I think it was, or last year, it was don't quote me, but a 4.5 or maybe 5 mile course, 1 lap. This year we had some big laps. And boy, did we have some excitement in the Gulf. And I am being told today that the Gulf circuit provided some of the best circuit racing for the year, and I would tend to agree with that. Especially with the 95 boys who did a lap, and the 130s was spectacular. There was just battles upon battles, going around that course. We also opened up the course in Store Bay, which provided for a little bit spectatorship. The race for us as a TTPBA, hands down, probably the most exciting race. While we weren't in the air covering it, we were in race control looking at a battle between Monster and Paramount. And we got goosebumps there, not seeing the boats in red, but just seeing
the data and all the
data, the speeds. Boats hit 120, maybe a little bit more up on the north. We've never seen that relatively calm year. We saw a fantastic battle between Mr. Solo and Lucas Oil in and out of Maracas, neck and neck, changing positions. We had great competition throughout the classes. We had Papi Chulio started off with a bang. We had him and Hero back and forth at it. We had Heatwave and Mobile Outlaw. Just very, very competitive racing, and I think it was thrilling.
I just want to ask you, the UIM, was it difficult to get them involved, or did they already know and have their eyes on the Great Race?
Well, when Lucas Oil decided to come here, that's when we started talking about the UIM, you know, and getting the race sanction and getting a world record. And we thought with an international entrant, it'll make it a lot easier. And I have to say, engaging with the UIM was fairly straightforward. A lot of paperwork and tedious calls and stuff, but they never once said, no, this is not an option or whatever. And then we got to meet Jean-Marie Van Lanker, who is the president of offshore for the UIM, and wonderful guy, had a great time. I can tell you he was tremendously impressed with our safety measures and our GPS platform, how we follow the boats, and our starts, how we do our starts. So
Nigel was really impressed with that as well.
yes, he gave me some really positive feedback on that as well. So for us, we got top marks as a country hosting a race, and the organization and the race itself. And I think that both the UIM official and the Lucas Oil team now have a tremendous amount of respect for the race teams and the caliber of race boats and how hard they compete in this grueling event.
Yeah. If you were to take, say, 10 or 20 great races, on average, would it be as calm as what it was for the 50th?
My opinion, no.
Right.
This was relatively a calm race, a race for the swift, as we like to say. And I'm sorry for the guys that's going to try and break this record, but my personal opinion, this record is here to stay for a while.
Yeah, because, I mean, the weather reports, I mean, I was really concerned. Like the Thursday to Friday, I was thinking, wow, this is going to be really rough. But it was such a nice day.
Yeah, it was spectacular, and you know, all the calls from the media, is a race going to go on, and is this going to happen, and is that going to happen? And I reflect back to 2015. The entire week leading up to the race, even at 6 o'clock Friday evening, it was calm. And then we had Hurricane Danny, which passed way to the north, and lo and behold, 2015 was, I think, one of the roughest races in history that ran that year. And I mean, I think we had only 38% of the boats completed the race.
So if it is rough, what we're talking about, a 56-minute time or something around there? Because what did they do? Roughly 47 minutes?
They did a 80.5 mile point A to point B in 47 minutes and 43 seconds. If I'm doing the math in my head, I think that's averaging 101, maybe close to 102 miles per hour. That's pretty fast. In those conditions.
Right.
And even though I say relatively calm and they may be 1 or 2 foot rollers, those boats got some serious airtime traveling at that rate of speed still. So there's some coverage of Monster getting a little hairy.
Right.
I mean, Paramount Solo getting off the water. Beautiful pick of Jumbie, probably 10 feet off the water. Yeah, but those guys were running.
So you think that record's here to stay for a while?
Unless we have another calm one like it,
Right.
because talking to a lot of the guys, they did run through a squall, a heavy rain shower. So I think people may have pulled back and, you know, gotten their bearings and so on. Even though they have the GPS waypoints, it's still, you know, when you're driving into a white cloud, it's pretty tough.
And talking to the Monster team, to me, it seemed like those guys are ready to rock back and take a break now?
Well, who knows, you know? That's their thing to decide.
Well, I mean, what might bring them out again is if that record gets broken.
Listen, I think if one or two more international boats come here, I think there's no way Joey and Peter's going to say, we're not letting those guys come here. And, you know, hats off to that team. They are meticulous in their preparation, and they treat it professionally, and they are very consistent. It was, you know, everybody says about the battles and so on, but there's that old saying, to finish first, you must first finish. Yeah. But they made for an exciting race with Paramount. I mean, the whole 130 class, the 95 mile per hour class, the 80s, the 70s. We had, I think, only 2 finishers in the 60 mile per hour class. It just made for some tremendous racing. But, you know, congratulations to all the class winners. We had, you know, Motul Monster. We had Bacchanal in the 95. We had Mobile Outlaw. We had Fire Chief 2 and Chemo repeating in the 70, as well as the Outlaw Boys. And we had Limitless doing a hat trick now. This is his third 60 mile, and he's from Tobago. So a big shout out to Limitless in Tobago.
Yeah. Well, I did tell you this was going to be a long interview, Roger. Let's talk about what's going on behind you. When's that coming out? When is the Mighty Vortex coming out?
I don't know. Nigel took a year off. He's a dear friend, and he's really, really good for the sport. He had a lot of stuff going on this year. Who knows, maybe next year. Who knows, maybe I'll get back into the boat. Right. You know.
But as you just said about the Monster team, if one of those big international babies come down here, I mean, isn't that going to get your juices flowing just to get out there on the water and compete as well?
It gets everybody's juices going. And I mean, that's my wish. There's probably going to be a new committee coming in October in our AGM. It's a chance for new blood and young blood to take over. I think the sport has elevated this year. There's a lot of things in place that they can, you know, leverage on that has been put in place this year, and it'll get the country's juices going. And that's the whole thing about brand great race. You know, it's a lot of people, and for me, in terms of personally for a mission, and I speak on behalf of my team too, because we chat about this all the time. We've gotten the international status, the UIM sanction, and we got an international boat here after 29 years. And our social media coverage has exploded over the last 2 years. I think it was 800 when we started working it, and it's in the 10,000. So,
but I think honestly, a lot of that is down to you. I mean, especially in this social media day and age, you've utilized that tool to the maximum. As Peter was saying, you're out there with your camera, shooting everything. I mean, there's always a live feed now coming up on the Trinidad and Tobago Powerboat Association website. Many live feeds, many different videos, so much information. So you're doing a real fantastic job in doing that. Have you got some kind of background in marketing?
Absolutely not. Oh. Absolutely not. And you know, yes, I'm flattered by all the compliments, but again, we sit as a team and we say, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I kind of took the helm of the PR and the, you know, getting it there. And I have to say, this could not have been done without our amazing photographers that come. I mean, I have to shout all you guys out. It's Ronald and Gerard and Nigel and Joe and Ryan. It's too many of you to name, but you all know who you are, Sunset. They have helped us go global. Without them, it would have been more tedious. The television stations have come to the regattas. TV6, Nicholas Lutchman, Ryan Beatrieu, Kent Fuentes. You guys have helped tremendously with all your interviews pre and post. I think the first time I did an interview with you was when we were in Sting and Metal in 2013. And I was like, who are these guys? And you know, it was all over the place. So, but a lot goes on besides PR. That's the sort of front. What happens in the background? I mean, Michael has been an amazing treasurer. The association is going to be left in good stead. He's put very tight measures in, and we are the strongest today than ever before. Paul Gabriel has done a fantastic job with safety. He's a stickler for details. He raised the bar again to impress the UIM, and you know, we've had tremendous support from, and this started years ago, from when these guys took over, Peter and so on, and the whole group, and you know where they're going to go. So it's not a one-man show. One man cannot do this, and my message for the guys that will come in and take over is you gotta have the passion and the love, and you gotta roll your sleeves up. It is thankless, it is tireless, you will be criticized, but at the end of the day, you can have a fantastic result of what I think we had this year.
Right. So it sounds like you're leaving.
I think the team is leaving. I think Rick Garcia may be staying on. You know, he's pretty excited and has a lot of energy. The other guys and myself, we have a lot going on with business and stuff like that, and it has taken a lot of time from our jobs and our families and so on. But we've served for a very long time. I was on the committee back in the 90s, I believe. And, you know, we are satisfied with what we've given back. And, you know, we're always a phone call away to help and advise and so on. But it's a fantastic product that we have here. It's probably, I think, the best offshore race in the world today.
Yeah, well, as I said, you've left it in great shape, honestly. Yeah, I keep on saying you. Yeah, the team has left it in great shape. So who would you like to see take over? Who do you think would make it a great job?
Well, it's a democracy. So the Racing Association will vote. They will nominate who they want. There's a lot of good guys. There's lots of them that could come up. I don't want to call names because they'll probably kill me. But if it's one thing I would like to say if this message goes global, who I would really love to see come to our shores to race, because we have spoken about it, is Steve Curtis and his partner James. Those guys, they are true offshore veterans. I'd love to see the Maritimo team come from Australia. Those guys are hardcore and they love a challenge and they love rough racing. Don't get me wrong, the whole world is invited. It'll be hard to get the Geico boat here because I believe they are contractually obligated to race only where Geico is.
Right. Oh.
But a seasoned team, CMS, Wake Effects, Envy, lots of brilliant boats all over the world. The Fendi team from Europe. It'd be great to get that DP here. So that's my wish.
Exciting times ahead. Roger, I just really want to thank you for giving us such an insight into the association, into the race. But before we go, let me just talk a little bit about the history of the race. When, you know, I believe Peter Peak was at the first ever great race, and well, obviously he wasn't competing, he was just there spectating. And he won the 50th as well. What has been your favorite race over the years?
This year has been my favorite race.
Out of everything, yeah?
But we have had tremendous races. I think it was 1985 where Solo pipped King Sailor on the line. I'm talking about 3 or 4 seconds. What's been wonderful about this year, in the lead up to the great race, we included all our veterans from yesteryear. We had Ken Gordon at our media launch. I mean, without Ken, this wouldn't be running. And this was an idea back in 1968 when he was escorting some sailboats to Grenada, I believe. We had Lennox Tanyuk. He was on our finished boat handing out the checkered flags. He went up the first great race, 1969. How cool is that? Rolf Hive, James Hadid, Winfield Alyoung, Douglas Skinner, lots and lots of names. Donald Haddon, you know, we had them all with us. Chris McLean, Junior Thompson, And it was really special having those guys witness what's happening today. And those guys back in the 70s and into the 80s were the fuel and the fire of what it is today. And as I think I put in my VP's speech in the magazine, we would not be here without them. They kept it alive. I mean, Ken Charles, the veteran, he was instrumental in starting the TTPBA, having meetings at his home. And here he is, racing today, still, and competing, and challenging the big boys. So, Brian Bowen, the late Brian Bowen, Carlos Sabga, I mean, you'll see in some of the pics that you're showing that, I mean, those guys, great teams, Checkmate representing, flying the flag high in Puerto Rico. Couldn't have done it without them.
Thank you so much for your time. I really want to thank you, and it was a real honor. And you know, whatever you decide to do in the future, whether it's to come back with this lovely baby here, you know, spend more time with your family, I wish you all the best, Roger. Thank you.
Thank you for showcasing the TTPBA. You've done it in the regattas. You've been doing it since 2012, and I think the coverage that you guys have given us have been spectacular. And from the Powerboat Racing Association, we say a heartfelt thank you.
Thanks, but I also want to say, it shouldn't be really me here. KVTV is about getting new presenters to come and do these kind of shows. But why I do this is because in KVTV, I'm probably the most experienced presenter who knows how to, what sort of topics to talk about. So I'm sending a request out to the association and anyone else out there in the powerboat industry. If you know, preferably someone young and vibrant, but if you know anyone interested in powerboat racing or even motorsports, rally, drifting, that kind of stuff, please get them to get in touch with KVTV, because this is where they should be. And I should be behind the camera. All right? Thank you.
Are you going to make them wear a Motul Monster shirt too?
Wait! Where's my Powerboat Association shirt?
We'll have to get you one. We'll have to get you one.
Thank you.
But I do have a shirt for you.
All right.
50th running great race. I helped make it happen because you did with all your coverage. So I'll be getting that to you for sure.
Bless you. Love that.
Cheers.